What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Humpday Investments, where we're here every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Alberto is on his way. Uh, I want to start this off with a meeting that I had the other day where the woman had told me, well, I think the Riviera Maya is just a little too saturated. And she was looking in an area up north, and I had asked her, where do you see that information, or where does that come from? And she's like, yeah, I've just been talking to some people and figuring and trying to, find out where I'm going to put my money and stuff like that. And I don't want this part of this to be about money. I want this to be a part of the the kind of the whole Riviera Maya situation. So, for the past couple of weeks, we have been talking about how many people are coming here from the airport. And I think today we'll probably take a break from that because obviously, like as numbers change, if they kind of stay the same, we'll upload that in our Discord channel. And really, I want to focus this section before Alberto gets here on what the market from an Airbnb investor standpoint kind of looks like and where she might have heard this information. Because here in this area, I wouldn't say that Airbnb is dead or, it's saturated. What I will say is I'll explain kind of the market and how it's played out, and then how Airbnb can be used to your advantage if you understand how to use it, how to work with it, right? So where I think this lady came from is where she talked to a bunch of people. Maybe the person that she knows or the person that told her was, yeah, I have an apartment and it's just really not renting. Well, there's reasons as to why that's happening and why she was told that it's pretty saturated. So the way that people get sold, or they meet an agent and they talk to somebody down here about purchasing a property in the Riviera Maya, whether it be Tulum or Cancun or Playa del Carmen or Puerto Morelos, is that they could you settle the outstanding? Could you settle the outstanding invoices? And so the what's it called? Uh, the way that people talk about this is the property management companies will come to the owners because the owners are applying pressure. Hey, why is my place not renting? And what has happened is that these property management companies have uh, basically they misunderstand how to operate the Airbnbs. And what I mean by that is the developers, they have a place, they have a piece of land or a plot of land, and when they buy that plot of land, they know there's really no financing here. And so when they purchase that land, they look at an Excel spreadsheet and they're saying, okay, we have X amount of square meters to build. And so when they divvy it out and they figure it out, it comes down to usually one bedroom, one bathrooms, or lofts, or something that's kind of small, right? And so what's happened, if you look at AirDNA and you look at the amount of one bedrooms that are on these platforms, whether it's booking.com or if it's what's it called? Or if it's Airbnb, VRBO, whatever, uh, there's a ton of one bedroom, one bathroom apartments. Now, when people had purchased these, right, they were told you're going to get 15, 16, 12% return on your investments. And so these numbers come from a time where the entire world was basically closed down, right? You have COVID, and Dubai and Mexico were really the only places that anyone could travel. And so when I hear someone say that it's saturated to an extent, it's saturated in a specific area, it's saturated to, a specific type of apartment. And so I had this conversation with her, and I asked her, kind of what what's your goal? Like, what are you looking to do? Because the saturation could be dependent on it could be different for different types of investors, right? If you're someone that wants to build, well, saturation doesn't have to be there. You could buy X amount of meters instead of putting 15 one-bedroom apartments in there. You could put four three-bedroom villas on that piece of land, and then it doesn't become saturated, right? So the square meters that someone's going to build um, is still the same price from a developer standpoint. I mean, if you build four different ones on different parts of the land, it's probably going to be a little bit more expensive because it's not all together, and you have to rebuild the foundation and use different cement and blah blah blah. But square meters per square meter is per square meter. And so that's from the developer standpoint. From someone that wants to buy a property, you know, it's not saturated depending on what your goal is and what the use case is going to be for that spot, right? And so I asked her, I said, well, what is your goal? What is your kind of idea of what you want to get in a return for this? And she told me that, I think I'm looking up north in a different place here in Mexico. She was in Puerto Vallarta and she was going to go to a different spot. And so I started talking to her, and we were discussing the saturation aspect of all of this. And really, it comes down to, if you're looking to invest in a spot or get into an upcoming market, you have to understand the market, right? Tulum is not the only place that you can invest here in this state. I have projects that are like I don't even know how to say this. One of our projects has already won awards. It's a huge project in Tulum, outside of Tulum, that is going against the norm. Being close to the beach does not necessarily mean you're going to get higher returns. Like, in fact, you're not going to get higher returns in this time right now being close to the beach. You have to understand the market. And so this whole saturation thing that we were talking about it kind of threw me off. From a one bedroom, one bathroom part or thing, yeah, that's saturated. But then we have the algorithm side of it, right? And so here's my experience, my 10 years experience working with Airbnb. Um, I released a case study the other day of a two-bedroom, two-bathroom. Now, I was running 11 units on my Airbnb account, and I had 5 or 6 of those are two-bedroom, two-bathroom units. Okay. In Tulum, in the same general vicinity, all in Aldea Zama. And from an algorithm perspective, we can control how much per night we get on Airbnb. All right. I'll include the case study in the description here, and then I'm going to include my 3-step process of how you work with the Airbnb algorithm. The property management companies here don't fully understand how this operates. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's a thing. And I would like to educate a lot of people on how to do this because it would affect the market. Airbnb doesn't necessarily look at individual markets. I wish they did. I wish they had like an account executive that would sit there and say, okay, this is the Riviera Maya. Here's the trends, blah, blah, blah. Let's see what's going on. How do we like raise our benchmark or our benchmark price for a two-bedroom, two-bathroom? And I'm going to tell you how to do it right now. Um, so, and I'll tell you exactly how I did it, because I took one of the best performing two bedroom, two bathrooms, and we raised it by 478% in price and nightly price, from $61 a night back in May to $378 in December. Um, and it's still renting, and I don't manage it anymore. But this is what I did. So we took her, Alberto's here. I'm gonna let him in. So I took the two bedroom, two bathroom, and we used the algorithm to our advantage. Now, how did I do that? Um, what's up, Alberto?
No, buddy, how are you?
I'm good. I'm just going over this. I don't know why
What'd
it
you
does.
do? What'd you
I have my hands like this and it thinks it's a heart.
do?
So I'm going over the case study. I was just kind of going through my
Nice.
head, talking about a meeting I had the other day. So, uh, how do you work? How do you work with the Airbnb algorithm? I'm gonna put the article that I wrote of kind of the three steps in this description here, but basically, I'm talking about Gabby's place, where we went from
Uh-huh.
$66 a night to 358, up to an average of 175. And the reason why I got into this talk by myself here, looking at my computer, that's
And
kind
I
of
was
weird, like
late.
talking to somebody, um, is because I was telling a story in my head about a conversation I had the other day with a lady that told me that it was too saturated here. And so
Right.
I don't
But based on what info, right? Where did she get her
exactly.
info from?
And I don't believe that it is too saturated here. It is I think that it is really, there's a difference in understanding of how to operate the Airbnbs and work with the algorithm, because like we've been doing this for the past couple of weeks, is we've seen that there's the demand is here. The supply is not there. And so what's happening is if you look on Airbnb and you start to see, the units that are performing well,
Right.
those ones are not showing up in the search results as of today, right? So I added a resources tab to our thing that you don't even know about, but I put this in there last night. How do you
Okay, you
make
don't.
data how do you make data-driven decisions to making sure that you're purchasing the right property, right? Because an agent is going to tell you, yeah, this one's great, it has a plunge pool, it has this, it has that, blah blah blah, it's great, and the aesthetics might look great, but when push comes to shove, when I purchase my property and I have a mirror image, there's another unit that's right next to mine, it does not perform the same as mine, and mine outperforms his, and it's literally a mirror image. And the way I'll get into it, the way that you look for these and you make these data driven decisions, anybody can do this in any market. It doesn't have to be Mexico, it could be in Germany or anything. Like if I were to
Just
buy a
business. It's
property,
business. It's business.
yeah, so you go to the Airbnb app or you go to the Airbnb platform. You literally, today's November 15th, you type in, I have 5 guests that want to come in the area. Let's just use Tulum as an example. And you look in February and March, and you separate those stays. So February 4th to the 9th. Then you do February 13th to the 16th. Then you do March 1st to the 5th. And you look at the ones that are available then, because if they're doing it correctly, they will not show up in the search result for November 16th to the 18th, December 1st to the 5th, because they've already been rented and that is what is working. So
Absolutely.
if you want to get a data driven understanding of what is working, you will see that it's not saturated. There are one bedroom apartments that are making $220 a night. And what do you need to do? You need to study those units and then make your unit look the same. It's the same as, I mean, from a marketing perspective for what me and you are doing, I'm sitting here learning, how do we grow our Instagram account? How do we grow our YouTube channel? How do we do this? And every single one of these people that have thousands and millions of followers that teach this say, don't reinvent the wheel. Go and look at other people's accounts that are in the same realm
Absolutely.
or the same niche as yours, and take their content and take one from this one and one from this one and mix it and put it together and make it your own.
Yep.
So you can do the same with an Airbnb in any market where it's, you look at the units that are working. Now, I will say, look for high, look for units that have higher than 4.8 ratings. Why? Because those are super hosts, and those people are going to get very high. They're going to get a little bit more love in the search results. You might find, I did this last night, you might find someone that has 115 reviews at 4.6. That's just because it's cheap. And I looked at the price. The pictures sucked. The spot wasn't that good. It was in a good location, but it was just cheap. It was like $30 a night. So, those are the travelers that are gonna they just need a place to stay and they don't want to spend a lot of money. And
Which
they're okay with
might not
that.
be
They're
bad, dude.
Yeah,
It
they're
might not
okay
be
with that.
bad
But if
because I
you're
mean,
gonna
$30
if
a night, that times 12, you're talking about $10,000 a year. You divide that by 10%, that's a $108,000 condo. And there's $108,000 condos in the region, right?
Yeah,
So
this was, yeah, I get it. And that's my
yeah,
next point is, you got to look at your numbers and figure
your
out
entry
what
level, of
you're
course.
okay
Of
with, right? So the
course.
woman that I had spoken to was like, it's too saturated. There's not enough money to be made there. And I was like, Based on what numbers are you running? Because I mean, it's proportional. You could buy a $500,000 spot and get an 8% return. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but that's probably going to be like $60,000 that you got to make. I'm just making it up. I don't
Yeah,
know.
before you take, your cost of managing it and utility, stuff like that, of course. Yep.
But if you buy $100,000 property and you make 10,000, that's a $10,000, that's a 10% return. So it's proportional. So like, based on what? And then from there, there's other places in the rest of the Riviera Maya that you can buy. And so I asked her, I said, well, if you have money saved up and you're trying to figure out where to put it, let's just say you put it in the bank and you get a 0.01 interest rate on Chase Bank, right? Or you put it in a money market account where S&P is like 7% return, maybe, 7 to 8% annually. I think over the past 50 years, it's done about that.
Yep. Yep.
You could buy a piece of land where it's near the train in Aldea Sac Bay, just a piece of land. Don't build it. It's the same as you putting your money in the bank or putting your
Yep.
money in a market account.
Yep.
And you don't even have to close on it. So there's no closing cost because you don't need to get the deed right away, right?
Yep.
You could put it in a piece of land, and in 2 years, it could 100%, it could 2, 3, 4x itself at
Easily.
that price.
Easily. And it doesn't say when you're talking about a $50,000 piece of land, people are like, yeah, it's not very much money. I'm only going to make 150, but 300% black
Return, yeah.
return. It doesn't matter what the number is,
And
it's
then she had asked me, well, what is that based on? I said, well, she said, how does the price go up? And I said, well, the price goes up when the train starts running 10 minutes away from it. That's one. The second is, once the developers sell 5, 10 pieces of land, the price goes up. After they sell
yep.
15 pieces of land, the price goes up. After they
Yep.
sell 30 pieces of land, the price goes up.
It's supply and
So
demand. Supply and demand.
then you have, when the Wi-Fi and the gig net or the optic fiber optic is run, the price goes up. When you have electricity, it goes up. And at this point in time, not all of that stuff has been there. So this is where you buy now and you sit on it the same way that you would just keep your money in the bank. Like, you're not doing anything. You're just literally just signing a contract, sending money to a different bank.
Yep.
and keeping it there. Now, obviously, there's always risk, right? They don't know us. They don't know who we are.
There's
So
risk in the stock market, dude. There's risk in
yeah,
crypto.
trust me. I mean, I've lost a lot of money in the stock market. Don't remind me.
Right. Um, but everything you said right now is it's so true. And people, they take advice from everybody, right? They're everybody, has got an opinion. There's an old saying that I got when I was I think it was in high school. If everyone's got it's like everyone's got an opinion, right? Everyone's got an asshole, just like assholes, right? Or if assholes had wings, this place would be an airport, right? Because there's just a bunch of them everywhere. So they're the opinions need to start fading away. I went to this a training about a month ago with a buddy of mine. His name is Diego Colo. He's the owner, the founder of Towers Capital. Great real estate agency. They're a great master broker. They got some really good products. If you guys are interested in them, let me know. I can hook you up. But he said one of these trainings I went to for this guy, he said that people need to stop making decisions based on opinions. They need to start making decisions based on factual evidence, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at buying a property, don't buy because someone says it's cool or because I think it's going to do really well because of this, and this, right? So they're giving you the features of this property and they're basing their opinion on the features, not on statistical evidence on why those features actually have a benefit, the feature benefit, scenario. So doing your research or having your agent, whoever you're working with, have them do it for you. Have them send you statistics. Have them send you a market analysis of the region. Have them send you a map and put some work on their side where you're making them do because they're here, right? The reason why you're talking to somebody in the Riviera Maya is because you don't live here and you're going to take their educated opinion on where they should or shouldn't buy. But if you ask them to do some homework and actually show you a map and show you occupancy percentages based on regions, and then you show you occupancy percentages based on ticket value. In other words, how much money was spent getting in that area on those condominiums and how many of them are there. There's so much information that I can go on and on about it. But the idea is make a decision based on market analysis and statistics, not just on what I think my brother told me was a really good location was over here because it's close to the beach. When you have condos that are close to the beach that are empty, I'm telling you this now because we've got condos in Playa that we have ones that are about we have condos. My wife, I say we, right? But my wife has condos on 6th and 30th in Playa del Carmen. We're talking about 5, 10, 15, 20, 20, about 6 blocks. I mean, it's in Playa World, it's in Egypt from the beach. And the occupancies on these condos she has in these studio condos that she has in this region are higher occupied than the one that's 1 block away from the beach. What's up with that? Why is that happening, right? And they're the same price. So people are choosing not to stay closer to the beach because they don't want to be part of like the Fifth Avenue, the noise. There's so many factors involved with it, right? But that's proof in the pudding right there that just
Well,
because you're close
even
to the beach
even
doesn't mean you
in
get high occupancies.
even in Tulum, I mean, when I speak with investors and they want to look, it's in my course. I mean, I have so much data, like I am so data driven. It's funny because I'm really bad at math, but I know how to like look
Yeah, you
at
can.
data and make decisions based on it.
You're really
But
good at Excel. That's why.
yeah, I'm good at Excel. I'm good at like being able to see trends and things and stuff. And so when I was operating the Airbnbs for all the clients, like I would look at things and then I would have meetings with people where they want to buy a unit in close to the beach in region 8. Let's just use that as an example. Region 8 is a great spot. But if I ask you what's your goal, you're like, well, I want to rent it out on Airbnb and I want to make money, right away. I'm looking for a project. I see the project there. And then I start to think of, okay, how is this going to operate on Airbnb? So I'll give you an example. You buy a place, and this is for someone that their goal is ROI, right? Now, if your goal is to get appreciation, you want to come down and visit the place every once in a while, you'll rent it when you're not there, but it's not really like the main factor. then that's a different conversation and that's a different story. And Region 8 is great. Whereas if someone wants to be close to the beach, they want to rent it on Airbnb, they want to make a bunch of ROI. So here's where this comes into play is when you buy a place that's close to the beach, and this is in Tulum, not in Playa.
Yep.
The real estate agent, the developer, they will tell you it's a great location. It's awesome. It's close to the beach. It's wonderful. When that guest gets off the plane and they get in the taxi or the shuttle to go to Region 8, one, that shuttle does not have the address because there is no address. So they're going to have a tough time finding the place. If they land at 4 in the afternoon and they get to Tulum at 7, it starts to get dark. They get to the end
That's
of
changing. It's
they
changing.
they get
Airport's
to the
coming.
they get to the end of Kukulkan, close to the beach, and they miss the turn.
No
Their
signal.
their signal goes out and they cannot find it. They end up getting to the house an hour and 20 minutes later after running around, not knowing any Spanish, trying to talk to somebody to find Calle 29 that has a little wooden sign at the edge of the Kukulkan, and they
A
miss the
Coca-Cola.
turn because it looks like the turn in the movie Get Out, and they're like, no, I'm not going down there. That can't be the road. So they spend 2 hours trying to find this place. Now, either they rented a car or they have a taxi, and the taxi driver's like, dude, you got to pay me an extra 500 pesos. And they're like, no, and they don't speak Spanish. I'm telling you, this happens. They get to the place, they get in, they can't find the key, they can't call somebody because they don't have service, and they're trying to load it. Whatever the case is, like this happens. This happens in Aldea Zama for me. And so they get to the spot, they check in. They don't want to go anywhere, but they're not close to anything. There's no shops, there's no 7-Eleven, there's nothing there. They're literally in the middle of the jungle. What does that do? Your first review, this place was a beautiful place. Check-in was terrible. The service sucks. The roads have holes in them. I got lost. But what does that do for you as an investor? You're now getting 2 and 3 star reviews, sometimes 1 star reviews. It has nothing to do with how beautiful the place is. It has to do with the entire experience. So Airbnb is an experience, right? Like, and so if your goal to be close to the beach is to get ROI, you have to think of the process that everybody goes through. Whereas you just said, separate your emotions from the data. That is the data. Go and look on your Airbnb map. I'm serious. And I haven't done this, but maybe I should. Go and look and zoom in close to the beach and find an Airbnb that's there. You probably won't find many because, well, you'll start to find them. They're starting to
They're
list
popping
them
up.
now. They're either going to have an entire concierge service that is for that specific building because they have to. That's an extra cost that they probably aren't going to tell you about. There we go. See, Zoom thinks it's a good idea. Zoom thinks it's good.
Why does it work?
I don't know why it does that. And so go and look at those units that are close to there and read the reviews. Again, look at the ones that are in, if it's November now, look in February, look in March to find them, because if they're good, they're being rented right now. And so that's how I would do your market research from afar. From you're in the United States, you're in Canada, you want to figure out because your agent told you this is a great spot. Start thinking in the Airbnb mindset of the guest that's coming and how do you get 5-star reviews. I'll tell you right now, 5-star reviews are the only thing that is going to make you money on Airbnb. If you do not get 5-star reviews, you will be just one in the rest of the pack. And that's where these people are coming and saying, oh, it's just saturated. It's so saturated, no one's there. No, there's 470,000 people landing in the Cancun airport and 170,000 rooms. And you're not sticking out, or the person that gave you that advice that has had Airbnb is not involved in the Airbnb. You can't just open up a business and plop it in front of there and just say, okay, I'm ready to make my $70,000 a year. There's work that needs to be done, and there's tweaks that you can make to be successful. I think that's super important to understand and to educate everyone that watches these videos and sees what we talk about. Because when I bought my place, I mean, that's kind of what I did. I just plopped it down and it was. But I bought it during COVID when no one could go anywhere. And at this point in time now, like if you look at mine, I have that huge mural that separates me from the other units. It separates me from the mirror image unit of mine. They want a place that's Instagrammable, so that they can share with their friends. Like you gotta look and see what works, what's not working, but you can do that market research from afar, from literally your laptop, and check out what's working and what's not. Now, let's talk about outside of Tulum. Let's talk about big companies that are purchasing in this area, right? You have, if you go down Koba Avenue, which is towards the Koba
Ruins.
ruins.
Yeah.
Well, it's still a little bit further back from there, but it's towards that way. You have four big companies. Azulik, which is the most popular one that I would say if you know Tulum. Azulik has a property out there, and we've talked about this. Azulik is the most followed hotel in the world on social media because it's cool. There's no running water, and you could pay $4,000 a night to stay there.
Yeah,
And
there.
it's awesome. They have
2.5
2.5
million followers.
million followers on their Instagram. I don't think any other
I gotta follow him. I don't follow
hotel has that. But why is that big, right? They have so much data of who's staying there. They have a following of who's staying there. So if you want to build brand loyalty, how many times can you go to Azulik and stay there and post pictures on your Instagram as a guest, right? A high-end guest. I'm talking like, they work with influencers that are on Instagram. There's only so many times that an influencer wants to go to Tulum and stay in Azulik and take photos for them. There's going to be a cap rate where it's like, okay, look, yeah, thank you for having me. I've been there 4 times now.
him. Yeah.
So they need some sort of brand loyalty and to build, their brand up. So they purchased land out here in this area called Francisco Umay, which is probably about 30 minutes away from their Azulik on the beach, maybe 35 minutes if you go, depending on traffic too. And I've been there. I've been to the museum there. They have restaurants there, and they're building a big project there. Then you have Swarovski Crystal. Swarovski Crystal is like the China sets that my mom has. That's the only thing I really know about them, other than they have a big brand, and it's a crystal company which bought land out in Tulum, which I would love to. I would, you know what? I would love to get someone from that company on our podcast. I wonder if we could reach
That'd be
out to them.
cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. I want to know why they bought out there. I
Yeah,
want to.
that's a good question. I had to find out. I had to check, see who we know that who knows who that we can
Oh, we
get.
just hit up the PR company on their website. I'll send an email.
Yeah, okay. All right, that'd be cool. Well, let me talk about statistics real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, we do this every week. And let's jump into, let's see if you make sure you guys can see my screen, okay?
So this is November. Yeah, I can
This
see it.
is November 4th to the 10th, last week. Okay.
Okay.
We are up to 492,484. Almost 500,000 people arrived. So remember when we first started doing this, we were at like 375, 380,
Yep.
390. So this is a perfect example of the trends, right? Of low season, high season. And you can actually, once we have a full year of this, we could probably draw a graph that'll look just like this. You'll see them
Yeah.
dipping down, then going back up. And typically right now, the season is about to start. We're going to start getting a lot more people in the region because it starts getting cold up north in Canada and the United States and Northeast. And Thanksgiving, you've got Christmas break. I mean, Thanksgiving, we get some traffic down here. Some of the only people that celebrate it, unless you want to get all crazy about, gentrification and genocide of the Indians and why we celebrated Thanksgiving. I'm not going to talk about that conversation. But Thanksgiving, we do get people down here on vacation, and you've got, Christmas, New Year's, and then the high season just begins. Everybody's going to be coming down here. So I wouldn't be surprised that this number jumps up to, 800,000, 900,000 people, a week getting into the peak season, of this region down here. Also, we're going to see some really crazy numbers this year because Acapulco is not going to be receiving any tourists this year because they're rebuilding Acapulco after that devastating hurricane out there. So there'll be a lot more tourists coming this direction as well. So this year will be kind of a crazy year for the Riviera Maya. So what I do want to show that I think is important is, remember we were talking about occupancies of the hotels, right? I think we were at like 69 or 70% occupancy, a few weeks ago. We're teetering on their 65. We're at 77% occupancy now. You've got Costa Mujeres in 82% occupied, Tulum 80% occupied in the hotels in Tulum. That's tourism is coming, 80% average, so you're going to have some that are higher than that, but you're going to have the lowest you're going to have is around maybe 50 or 60%, because if you have an average of 80, that means your differences, are right there. That's where your average is at. So 80% occupied in Tulum hotels. Why is this relevant? 82% at Costa Mujeres. That's on the other side. We talked about that last week. Why is this relevant? Because these are tourists that don't own yet. These are tourists that are coming down here. Most of the people that go to hotels, well, I don't want to generalize, but because I was in the hotel industry for quite some time. People that choose to go to hotels, and I talk to a lot of them, they go there for the simplicity. One, because of the safety. They're unsure about the location they're going to. They've never been there before, and they want to actually feel secure and safe. They like the compound feeling of the hotels and the cost with it, right? Because most of the hotels down here are all inclusive. So all you can eat, drink, everything all in one. You pay 1 week and you're good to go, right? for that week. But what happens when they come down here their second time, because the first time they loved it, they fell in love with the region, they fell in love with the location. Their second time, or maybe day 4, they start exploring outside. They've already done the tours. They've already been to Chichen Itza. They've already saw cenote. They went to Cocobongo. They got reeled into a timeshare presentation. They've done all that already. Now they're on their 5th day, and they want to explore the place that they're falling in love with. So they're going to go to downtown Tulum. They're going to walk down the hotel area, the hotel zone in Tulum as well. They're going to go to the restaurants, the food truck restaurant area where they're having salsa lessons. What beach club is cool to go to? And they start exploring. The next time they come down, they're going to, when they're out there walking around, they're going to come down again. They're going to say, you know what? Let's stay at an Airbnb this next time, right? Let's stay at an Airbnb so we can start eating the local food. And as you can see, the chain, the organicness of how this cycle works. This is not going to get any slower. It's just going to get better. This is people arriving to Cancun. People are arriving to Cancun and they're driving 2.5, 3 hours with traffic to get to Tulum, and they have an 80% occupancy in the hotels in Tulum. That means these people are really wanting to come to Tulum, and they're willing to go through this gauntlet to get down here. So this number is going to change drastically once we have the airport here. People won't have to fly into Cancun anymore. They're going to be able to fly into Tulum. What's also going to change on the experienced traveler, the astute traveler that's been traveling to Playa del Carmen now with their family because they have kids and they don't want to do that trek from Cancun to Tulum, will now be flying into Tulum. And what are they going to be looking for? 2 bedrooms. They're going to be looking for 3-bedroom units because they've got kids. They want to come explore Tulum and enjoy everything that Tulum has to offer. And the tours here, the jungle tours, the cenote tours, all the things and the fun things to do in Tulum you can do as a family will be there. So it's going to change. This number is a great number to show you that proves to you that people are still coming to Tulum, even though it's super far away from Cancun. It's going to continue going. And now that the airport's opening here, that number is going to get drastically higher. So Costa Mujeres is north of Cancun. Cancun, 79%. Tulum has more occupancy than Cancun in a hotels. Imagine that. I mean, there are a lot more hotels in Cancun.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say
79%, 79.7% occupancy. You know, when you have, where's that number? There's the hotel rooms. I have it over here somewhere. Let me jump around. The hotel rooms, where are
right
we?
there.
So here we go. Okay. So
45,000 rooms.
so Cancun, that's Benito Juarez, by the way. You've got 45,000 rooms, right? In Tulum, where's Tulum at? You've got 10,000.
11.
So yeah, 11,000. So yeah, 80% is, just a drop in the bucket to Cancun. But seriously, 79% occupancy. That means you got 30,000, rooms occupied right now. Or less than that, it's probably like 29% occupied right now in Tulum, which is, I mean, in Cancun, that's phenomenal. So going back to this big number, I think it's awesome knowing, where the people are coming from, what they're doing, why they're coming on vacation here, and this is not going to change. This is just the beginning. I keep saying that over and over again. There's going to be an industry change in this region, and I got really destroyed online for a video I did a couple of months ago about they thought I was wanting to do gentrification, and I'm like, which is a great conversation. I'd love to have a debate with anybody on that when y'all want to. The region, there's only 18% developed right now. Let me make sure you understand what I'm saying right now. I'm not asking or saying that I'm promoting the destruction of the jungle, the ruins, the ecosystem, the fauna, the animals. I'm not talking about relocating humans, people, and nothing. Okay. What I'm saying is there's only 18% developed down here. That means we have a chance or an opportunity of developing things the proper way. We've got lots of room for growth, lots of room to not make the mistakes that we made in places like Florida, in places like Cancun. Not saying Cancun's bad. I'm not saying Playa's bad. I'm not saying the initial start in Tulum was bad, but they did make some huge mistakes on the infrastructure and the sustainability and the eco-friendliness of how they were doing stuff. So if we've only developed 18% of this area, you have an opportunity to be a part of something that's going to make a difference in the world 15, 20, 30 years from now, depending on where you invest your money. If you just want to buy another condo and not caring how they're building that, you're part of the problem. But if you want to be a part of something that's going to help the future generations be able to enjoy this beautiful, pristine land, it's going to get developed whether you or I like it. Whether I try to go out front and pick at these tractors, they're going to build it, whether you like it or not. But what can make a difference, what you can do to make a difference, is where you put your money. If you invest your money with the properties and the projects and developers that have that type of conscious mind when they're building, then you're going to be part of the change, part of the solution. If you aren't giving money to the developers that don't care, they're going to be forced to change in order to make a profit, right? So it's like people have been saying that for a long time. And you've even seen these conspiracy theorist guys on television or on Instagram saying, you as a consumer have more power than you feel you do. If you stop buying a product, they stop selling it. If you don't like what they're doing, animal treatment with makeup and animal testing, stuff like that, then stop buying L'Oreal. I'm not saying L'Oreal does that. I shouldn't have said the name. But whoever does that type of thing, you can make that difference by choosing where you put your money. So I have a list. Nick has a list of developers in this area that do adhere to very strict guidelines on how they're building. They have certifications. They have medio ambiente. They have environmental certifications. They're doing things the right way, and they're building really cool products, right? So if you want to get involved in that kind of stuff, let me know. That was a super side tangent, but it has to do with occupancies, has to do with what Tulum is doing, it has to do with what Playa is doing, what Cancun's doing, and people are coming here on vacation. So you can either be a part of this, of these places these families can stay, or you can just keep on coming down and staying in one of my units or staying in Nick's unit and wish you would have done it back before when it was cool. The time is now.
Yeah, and I want to touch on what you said, like to understand what 18% developed is, like, I mean, it took me a
I don't
while
want
to
100%, by the way. I'm just saying
No, I know, but it took me a
room.
while to understand this state of Quintana Roo has been around since 1973 as a state. That's like 50 years. It's only been a state for 50 years. So when we go and we think about, like, I don't know, the United States, like New York has been a state for like 150 years, like 200 years. I don't know, maybe even longer. And I mean, from the time that the United States was created and they had the 13 colonies and all of that, that's like 1700s. And so they, since then, they started developing those states, right? So like, I mean, you have all these, I'm like New York City, that's been around since the early 1800s. I mean, there's videos and pictures of them building the buildings, right?
Yeah,
And
I
so,
watched Leonardo DiCaprio in Gangs. Great movie.
yeah, exactly.
That's where I got my history from.
And then, you have all these different states in the United States that have been around forever, right? But in our lifetime, well, I wasn't alive in 1973, but a lot of people, were alive in 1973. As of right now, this state has been a state. It's been and Tulum has only been a municipality, like a sanctioned spot, I want to say for only like 14 years.
Yeah, it's recent. They became their own county and city like recently. It's
Yeah,
not
and so
long.
when you have that happen, that's when rules and regulations start to be put in place. Like me and you were talking the other day, when you drive outside of Aldea Zama and you make a left on the back way, there's a bunch of ejido land, and you were explaining this to me. Well, the reason why that's there is because for 14 years, no one's really had to deal with people just like squatting on land, and so my point is that it's so new that the rules and regulations are kind of being made right in front of us where they're getting organized. And you as an investor, myself as an investor, we have the opportunity to be a part of that change because it's so new. And so
Let's talk about real quick what ejido land is. I'm sure you guys have heard the terminology of ejido, right? First of all, I think like if facts are slipping my mind. I'm getting old. My memory is short, but I have a good memory. Most, if not all, of Mexico at one point in time was ejido land. Ejido land is when the government gives land to the native people, or not the indigenous, the native people that live, Mexicans that were born and raised here back in the day, to farm. They were given plots of land to farm for their livelihood, for stock, for cattle, for orchards, for farming in general. That's what they're given this land for. As time passed on, this ejido land was not being farmed. A lot of the land wasn't being farmed because most of these people ended up just getting jobs in the big city. And these committees, ejido land is not owned by one person. It's owned sometimes by 25, 30, 50 people own this piece of land. Families own this piece of land. So in order for somebody to go in there and buy this land, you've got to get 50 votes. You got to get 50 people to say, okay, we're willing to sell this land to this investor. And everybody has to be in agreement. Otherwise, the sale is invalid. What was happening 20 years ago, when Playa first started having a boom, or Tulum, because people were buying land in Tulum back in 2007, 2004, 2003, and it was being sold more than once. What was happening is one of the people that was part of the ejido committee would agree to the sale, sell it, get the paperwork, go to the notary, get it all signed legal beagle, and now I've owned this land. I go to start building, there's a house there. Well, this is my land. They're going to say, no, it wasn't, because it was never agreed upon the entire committee, okay? Those are the nightmares that were happening in the past. We know that this is what was happening. So now we understand what needs to happen in order to get things to move forward. There are laws to protect the investor. There are laws to protect the ejiditarios, the people that own the land itself. So a lot of the land in Tulum, excuse me, was ejido land, ejido land, and it was there for cultivating farms. We started building Aldea Zama, which was bought, legally processed. The big groups that were doing, a lot of the big developers from Playa are the ones that bought this land called Aldea Zama now, and they're developing it. Right behind it, in between downtown Tulum and Aldea Zama, there's a section of land. It's like a sausage, and all you see is a bunch of styrofoam and metal walls and bricks, just kind of forming these makeshift homes. Most of these people were actually the workers that were building all the developments that are happening in this region right now. So they all lived. They basically put their own little town in there. This land has been bought. but they can't just go in there and uproot these people. They have built a town in there. I mean, I haven't taken you in there yet, Nick, but you can
No,
drive around
yeah,
in there. There's a dentist, there's doctors, there's stores, I mean, they have built a town and on this land. It's not their land, right? And they're there. But the squatter rights are so strong in Mexico, you can't just go in there and kick them out. It's a legal process, to get
oh,
it done. So
sounds
what
familiar.
happened, what Nick's talking about right now is there's a section of this that finally got settled. They cleared it and they're going to start building there. And the reason I'm telling you this is the room for growth is there, but it needs to be done properly in Tulum, right? So in order to avoid these type of situations, we need to start investing in the opportunities and building affordable homes for people that lived here in the first place. We can't just allow the gentrification to happen. It needs to have a solution. Like in Playa del Carmen, there was a solution made. You've got an entire city right next to Playa del Carmen. It's on the other side of the highway that has homes between 350,000 up to 1 million pesos. And these are 1, 2, 3 bedroom homes. You've got restaurant. It's a whole town. And that's where most of the people that work in Playa live. And they drive to go to work downtown in the tourist section, right, which is 10 minutes away. We're needing that in Tulum. That's what we're doing in Tulum. We're getting there, right? So the Ejido, back to the Ejido land, the only way you can get around this is if you do it the proper way through the legal service. You can't just believe someone that has the land. You have to make sure you have a competent team, a competent agency. I'll raise my hand. We're competent. That will take the time and the effort to take your paperwork or take the paperwork from the seller and run it to the gauntlet. Go through the government agencies, go through the notaries, go through the title, go through the registration, go through the paperwork, go through who was the previous Ejido owners, how many are there, where are all the signatures, is it all legit, all the way back to the beginning of time, so to speak, of where this land came from, and every transaction in between, where it got there to where it got to you. And when it gets to you, as long as everything's legit and everything checks off and the homework's been done properly, it's your land you can start building on, right? But it's not just simple, that's Ejido, that's private, that's not private, stuff like that. For example, Aldea Umay, designed by Pininfarina, is privatized land. That land is private land. You can follow the paper trail all the way back of the previous owners, back to where it started to where it's at now. And also the subdivision of the lots have been properly done as well in order to get the title work. So you were saying earlier, Nick, how does my price increase? Well, Ejido doesn't have deeded properties. Ejido isn't a deeded property in general. And also, Ejido land isn't subdivided into individual single-family, multifamily, mixed-use lots. That process can take up to 7 years. That process can take 5 to even 15 years to get a big piece of land like Ejido land to be subdivided into small sections to then start building a home in. So Aldea Umay, designed by Pininfarina, that development, they bought this back in like 2013 or 2014. And this process of getting it set up is finalized to tomorrow. If you bought a piece of land there, you can go to the notary the next day and get it titled. So getting that price difference. So when you have a piece of land that's not subdivided and you buy it, then you're not going to get a huge price increase until it's been zoned. And then you have the plot of land that you can build your single family home on. And that price increase was there. Another price increase is going to be once you have a predial. A predial is your land taxes. You're not going to have property taxes on your land until the municipality zones it and says this is now part of the municipality. This is now privatized. This is now taxable land. And now you start paying taxes on your land. You're going to pay minimal amounts. I'm talking, $100 for every $100,000. But when that happens, the value goes up. And then once electricity gets there, like Nick said, the value goes up. So there's things that are out. It's not just, oh, this is great land. It's going to have a huge equity gains on it. It will, but there's certain factors that are outside of our control that are going to be playing a huge role in your ROI by buying properties like Aldea Umay, designed by Pininfarina, by buying properties like Aldea Sac Bay, if you're in a different price bracket. Because as the zoning gets closer and closer, and as they start legally subdividing these plots of land for single family, multifamily, and mixed use lots, your property value goes up because it's worth more. That's why the prospecting part is so much fun. That's why buying raw land legally, costs you so little. There's a higher risk that might never get developed, based on certain factors, but the rewards are astronomical. I'm not saying sky's the limit, but we're talking 2, 3, 4, 500% return on your investment if you get in early enough. Or you could be like most people and sit back and say, you know what, I'm going to wait until it's there and I'll jump in. I'll jump in for the last 50% increase in value. I'll jump in for the last 30%, which is nothing wrong with that. It's a 30% return on your investment in 2 or 3 years. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, right? Not
Or
everybody wants,
or
huh?
or you could be a visionary and say, you know what? I want to buy this piece of land and partner with people in our Discord group, with us, with our developers, and build something really,
Yep.
really cool. I will say there's a couple things that are missing here, that I think would be, and not that I think, I look at other areas on Airbnb. I look at different, I hear things because these people that are coming here, they come for different reasons. And I'll give you an example. Two business ideas that I have that I think would be great for some investors to take and run with would be small shipping container type homes on a plot of land that has some sort of venue. This is a venue for yoga, for health and wellness, something like that. There's a big company outside of New York that is building these shipping container tiny homes. They're literally like as big as this room, and they have these really cool things like the ceiling is what, 10 feet, maybe 9 feet, but they put like a bed right here to maximize the space, and
Like the
underneath there's
office.
a living room, and like things slide out and they do stuff, and it's like it's
Like
really
the
cool.
office.
Yeah, like the
It's
office.
downstairs in the office in Tulum. I'm in Tulum today, by the way. You got stairs right here, and they go upstairs, and you got a studio up there. You have literally a full bathroom and a bed and everything up there inside this office.
Yeah, exactly. And so to bring this whole conversation around, is Tulum, is Quintana Roo, is Mexico saturated and people aren't coming? No, you literally can do something and be different and think outside the box of a problem plus a solution always equals a sale. So the problem is there's so many one bedroom spots. The solution is build it differently in tiny homes and shipping containers. You can still have a one bedroom, and then you will get people to rent it, right? That's one. I really believe that in the middle of the jungle, a shipping container, like we buy a plot of land and have 6 shipping containers around in a circle with a centerpiece, with a fire pit, with some sort of community type thing in the center. Maybe a little restaurant, maybe a bar. I don't know, something like that. And then the other thing is a piece of land with a wedding venue that is in the jungle that's decorated amazingly, and you're selling weddings for 10,000 a piece. Someone will spend 10,000 coming from the United States, where usually they got to spend 30 grand, and they're now in an amazing spot. You can find, and I know this because the majority of the people, that's not the majority, but there has been a lot of people that have stayed. When I ask them, when I rent the places out or manage the Airbnbs, what brings you to the area? They're like, yeah, we're looking at wedding venues, and they're on the beach. And sometimes they're complaining, man, these places are super expensive. I understand that they want to be on the beach, but if you have an outlet for a $10,000 wedding compared to a $35,000 wedding on the beach in Tulum, there's a business model there. And I
Well,
think
I'm going to have Vanessa send it to you because she has a business plan already for a container, a shipping container, Airbnb slash hostel that she's already got the business plan for that she brought since
I,
Punta.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
I I
dude, it's
I, I
sick.
think it's a great idea.
I love it.
And you have to understand the market in Tulum are people that are coming that want to live simple lives. They've left, the people that live there, even here in Mexico, we all left this crazy, abundant life filled with all kinds of consumer products that we got to buy the newest iPhone, we got to do this, we got to do that. Like, it's just, no, I just want to take a break. I want to just live a simple life, and a shipping container home you can stack these things. I mean, I don't know if you ever
Yep.
saw them
No, you
on
can. You can.
YouTube. Like
Yeah.
they're really cool, and they're not that expensive. A shipping container, I think you can get for like 3, 4 thousand. I don't know how to get it shipped here, but there's got
They
to
have
be
them
some.
here. They're here
Yeah,
already.
they've got to get them. It's got to be like 3 or 4 grand per container, maybe 5 grand. I don't know. That's probably what I would look for, or at least pay. But and you just make it cool. I'm sure there's free plans by some guy that has a YouTube channel that will give you the plans for how he made that his.
Absolutely.
So that's the other side, is the visionary that wants to come down here, invest, and build their own thing and operate it. I though, let me know because I'm interested if anybody's watching this.
I'm interested. Come on down. Let me know. All right. So I'm not gonna go through the whole thing again. I think the most important part was the occupancy of the hotels, and then I'm gonna actually talk to these guys about these numbers, because what they're doing, they're sending me the rates. They haven't updated the rates on the nightly stays. They have the rates from September 8th. So I think we need to check those. I think I'll check an AirDNA today.
Okay.
And I'll see if I can, what do you call it? I'll compare it, because they're showing here like $1,100, 1,100 pesos, 1117,
That's the
which is
same as last
as
week.
8th of September. Yeah, so that's changed. They're not updating that. So I'm gonna find out right now how I can get the
Can you
newest.
drop this in the Discord channel?
I'll send it. I'll put it right now.
Cool.
I'll put it right now. What else? I went off on a crazy tangent, I know, but I think it's important to understand that we do have a lot of room for growth, and we have a lot of room for investors. And like you've mentioned already before, we've got projects that for as little as $50,000, you can get 10,000 square feet of land in a planned development called Aldea Sock Bay, which is it's part of a wellness hotel. It's got, these houses are on stilts that they're building, right? So the land is 50 grand and the house is 40. A 1 bedroom house. I mean, for $90,000.
What's the 2 bedroom?
The 2 bedrooms, 1.9 million pesos, which is like let me get a calculator.
I could tell you right now.
1950 for a 2 bedroom, 2 bath, divided by 17.5, so 111,000. So for $111,000 plus the 50 grand for the lot of land, for $161,000, 162 grand, you're going to get roughly about 13,000 square feet of land that'll be given to you with services. And then you have a 2 bedroom on top of that. So for 161, you have land and a 2 bedroom with a pool.
Can you build behind the 2 bedroom if you want?
Your total is 20%. In other words, you can only build 20% of your land. That's your max. So the 2 bedroom, I think, is 110 square meters. I have to look at I think actually head out just sent it to us yesterday. I can look at it right now. Give me a second. He put in that chat with the Aldea Sock Bay chat. So the 2 bedroom total square footage is 1.95. They can deliver it within 6 months after you've gotten 80% paid. And I don't see this. Here it is. Where are we? There we go. 138 square meters. So it's 1,500 square feet for a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. It has altogether 1,500 square feet. That includes a kitchen, bedrooms, bathrooms. You have a pool. I'm sorry, you have a pool, and you also have the bathtub is actually outside on a terrace in the jungle where you take your bath. It's super cool. So yeah, it's pretty big. If you have a total of 13,000 square feet, or let's say 1,200 square meters times 20%, you can build 240 square meters of it. And the house is 100 and what did I say it was? 130 something?
Yeah,
138.
so
So
240
you
minus
still have space, you
100.
still have room to build maybe a studio. You can even do a mother-in-law suite, right? You could do a habitat on the other side of your land, where she's not next door, and you can have both. on the same piece of land, as long as you don't exceed the 20%. Right. That's one. And then the other one that we talked about that we've mentioned many times now is Aldea Umay, designed by Pininfarina. This is a whole podcast, but in a nutshell, look up branded residences. I'm going to give y'all some homework. Look up what a branded residence is. See the importance of what branded residences are for a developer. Okay. Just to give you an idea, there's one in Cabo San Lucas. It's by the Ritz. The Ritz is building a neighborhood. It's called the Ritz, I think, Developments in Cabo San Lucas, something like that. It's super like $1 million plus, pieces of land to build because it's got the Ritz name on it. And we have the Pininfarina name on it, which is just as valuable. It's just as big, and it's being built here in Tulum. So, and here you're starting at like $123,000. But just to have an idea, this price was $60,000 before Pininfarina signed up. So when Pininfarina contacted the developer, say, hey, you know what? We like what you're doing. We like your vision. We want to design it for you. Can we do that? It took them months and months and months. You were a part of that, Nick. Months and months and months to finally, when they finally signed, and it went from 60 grand to $123,000 just because of the name. And we're just in the beginning. And there's still going to be more sales, increase in price, more sales, increase in price. So you're going to be in the beginning of an opportunity. But this is going to be a little bit different. This land here, unlike Aldea Sac Bay, you're not going to have to title it for another like maybe 2 years. This one you can title the very next day. You can go in there, you buy your lot, you get your deed, you get your title, and you can start building. So it's going to be delivered to you with services, with electricity, with internet and everything. But you're going to have a branded residence. So you're not just another development in Tulum. People say there's a lot of developments in Tulum, and they're all amazing, but none have the name Pininfarina. Not one. Nobody has that name on it except this development, and none other one's going to have it either because the rights are like franchise rights for the entire state of Quintana Roo. So nobody else is going to be able to have the Pininfarina name on their property. So that's going to give you uniqueness. It's going to give you scarcity. It's going to give you fear of loss, whatever you want to call it. It's amazing. All this stuff is through us. You can let us know if you're interested.
Yeah, and all of it is in our Discord channel. And I'll put the link at the bottom of here for that. So you can be a part of the community. It's growing. We have people in there, and it's a place where you can possibly meet a new partner. We're going to be posting all of this stuff, all of this information inside there. So to help you make these data-driven decisions and, basically be a part of what we're doing. This isn't the only thing that Alberto and I are planning on doing. We want to grow. We want to go to different places in different areas of the world eventually. And so this is a community of cool, down-to-earth, open-minded investors where, we all want to grow. So that's what the Discord channel is. What it looks like now might be different in a year, but it's going to be all just growing the same way that all of us are. So I think that's all for me for today, man. We'll be back next Wednesday. I have a meeting here in about 20 minutes I got to go to. So
cool.
Let's post the numbers inside the Discord channel, and then I'll go back and edit this video so that we can get it there. So thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right, guys. See you later. Peace.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Nick. Bye. Tough, too.